All right. Welcome to the show today. We're going to be talking about how to secure the success of your real estate journey. We have with us Mr. Jamel Gibbs. He is a real estate investor and educator. He owns a real estate investment firm and education academy. He also coaches and consults people across the country in an effort to help them achieve their financial freedom through real estate investing. My new friend from North Carolina, Jamel. How you doing, my brother?
Doing good, man. How are you? What's up?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for joining us today. Um, so tell me, a lot of people always have these somewhat weird stories how to get into real estate. Either like they had a job before that and then they end up just getting into it because they did like a side investment.
Uh-huh.
So what was your kind of stepping stone to get into the business?
Oh, man, that's a great question. First off, I appreciate you having me on the show. I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun and
Yeah.
providing some value for our listeners, man. So for me, I started off in a business back in 2002. I segued into the business from Wall Street. So I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I graduated high school in 1999. And in 2000, I was offered a cold calling position on Wall Street for a spot trading currency firm. This is where I learned about business and how to speak to people and how to convince people and persuade people over the phone. And then ultimately that led into the real estate business. So just to take a step back for a second, I missed a huge piece of the story. I worked on Wall Street until 9/11. When the planes hit the towers, I was actually the headquarters that I was working for of the company I was working for was located in the Second World Trade Center. And then we had an office at 40 Wall Street, which is the Trump building. And then we also had an office on 61 Broadway, which is right around the corner from 40 Wall Street. I worked at 61 Broadway on the 19th floor. So I remember when the planes hit, it felt like our building, since we were only a few, maybe 2 or 3 blocks away from the World Trade Center, we felt the impact as if we were in the World Trade Center at that time. A long story short, the investors that were putting their money into our company at that time, they started pulling out within a few days, not knowing what was going to happen over the next few weeks, months, years, etc. And ultimately the company went out of business. So I was back to square one trying to figure out what I was going to do. Now here's a business that I at that point I was working in the business 15 hours a day. I was working under a broker, but I was working to build up my own clientele, my own business. I had just put in over a year and a half in the business. I used to spend the night in the office. I used to sleep there. I used to, as much work as I had to put in to get from where I was at that time to where I wanted to be, I was willing to put forth the effort, but it all came crashing down with the 9/11 situation. A week before 9/11, I finally became a broker, and then the business went out of, the company went out of business due to unfortunate circumstances. So I was back to square one, like I said. And, from there, I had a friend who was in the real estate business. He worked for one of the largest real estate companies in Brooklyn, New York at that time. I bet they're still the largest. They have the most offices. From there, he said, "Hey, I'm a real estate agent." He wasn't an investor. I didn't learn about investing until shortly after. He said, "Why don't you become an agent?" So I became an agent. I quickly figured out how to make money as an agent. And then the investing side of things started to kick in. I remember I sold my first $1 million house in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. And, the investor walked away with like $300,000 in his pocket. And I walked away with a check for like 24 grand or something like that. Well, it was 48,000. I had to split with the broker. And then I put two and two together and said, this math isn't adding up. So then I started talking to these investors as they were bringing home big checks, and I started figuring out how to get into investing. And that's kind of how I segued into real estate investing. And I've been doing it ever since.
Oh wow. So that is a great story. That story led you right into exactly what are you doing now. So when you started doing the education academy piece and training and teaching people how to get into the business, what is one of the first steps that you normally tell people on how to get into the business of real estate investing?
Great question, man. So the way I started in the business was through buying a house, fixing it up. I would do a refi cash out, or I would just sell it right away. And if I did the refi cash out, I would go ahead and do a rent to own. So I would never hold on to any properties. Um, Lo and behold, I didn't know that that was the biggest mistake that I made back then, because between the year 2002 to 2006, I was about 25 years old when I made my first seven figures in real estate. The problem was I wasn't holding on to anything. In real estate, you make money when you buy and hold properties. The minute you let go of the asset is the minute you let go of the cash flow that can come in from the asset. So, for me, I wish someone would have told me back then to just continue holding on to more properties. And I bought a couple of hundred houses by the time I was 25 years old. Had I kept majority of those houses, it would have sped up the entire process for me. Thankfully, though, it was just one of those situations where although I didn't hold on, and I should have, I'm glad I didn't, because the market crashed, and I had a lot of rehabs going on at that time, and I was over leveraged, and because of that, I went from making seven figures. I was bankrupt by the time I was 27. So a millionaire by the time I'm 25. Time I'm 27, I was broke, and I had to start all over again. And I had to rebuild my entire business, my entire portfolio, due to the market crashing. Just being over leveraged. I'm a lot smarter and older and wiser. Now I know not to overspend and things like that. But as far as getting started, I wish somebody would have told me this, what I'm about to tell you guys. I would recommend starting off as a wholesale real estate investor, and you can literally get started doing wholesaling with very, very little capital. I know you guys hear it all the time, very little money out of pocket, yada, 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 right? No credit, yada, yada. It's true when it comes to wholesaling. Um, the thing is, the caveat to it is, I want you to understand that you have to become a great marketer. Marketing takes time or money. There's two things that you need to sacrifice, right? It's going to be one or the other. You're not going to get away with not doing either. So if you don't have money to start, then you're going to have to put in the time. If you have time, you don't need as much money. Okay, so that's the first thing I want you to understand going into wholesaling. What I recommend everyone on this call to do just to get started is do what's called driving for dollars. What that is you get into your car, you put a little bit of gas money in, you go to a middle class or lower middle class area, you drive the neighborhoods and you look for the eyesore properties that give evidence that they're vacant. Maybe the house needs some work on the outside. There's tall grass. These houses are in every single neighborhood. They're the eyesore. If you just contact those sellers, and I'll tell you exactly how to do that, you can negotiate with the seller to alleviate them from the problem that they're facing with the property. So just to backtrack, how do you contact these sellers? You can use the tax assessor's website or the local appraiser's office website in your local area. This information is free. It's public information. So drive the neighborhoods, find out who the sellers are, contact the sellers. And remember, you're looking to solve problems. So in real estate, summing all of this up, you're a real estate investor last. Okay, so you're a marketer first. That's why I said you got to be a good marketer. Then once you understand how to find the sellers, you're a problem solver. And then you're a real estate investor when you materialize the check. So real estate investing, when you get the money, to me is the least concern. Your main concern is knowing how to find people with problems and then knowing how to solve those problems. That's how you make money in wholesaling. So I recommend each and every single person watching it start as a wholesaler. And you can, once you understand the basics of wholesaling, you understand how to find deals at that point. Then you become a better investor later on. You put a year's worth of income in the bank just by rinsing and repeating the wholesale process. Average profits on a wholesale deal is about $8,000 to $10,000 a house. And once you do that, you put a year's worth of income in the bank. Then you start transitioning into passive income streams. So now we're talking about buying and holding. That's the only way to really retire from real estate if you wanted to, or choose to work when you want to, is through passive income streams. So you got active income with wholesaling, then you got passive income with buying and holding. And that's how I would play the game to allow me to retire within the next 3 to 5 years, starting from scratch.
That's what's up. You gave us a whole class, man. That was free.
That's
But
the
you know what? I
idea.
like I like how you gave your downfall point and then how you rose back up. And I was going to ask you a question about what are some of the things that people, how they fell into the real estate investing business. And you gave one point about over leveraging. And
Mhm.
then you came out with, you wish you would have literally brought and hold. And that's how you maintain your wealth or your value within, yourself when you're going into real estate investing. Is there any other ways that you think a new beginner normally fails when they get into that business other than over leveraging? Is there other ways to
Yeah,
actually?
I think that especially as a newbie, and this is why I encourage people to understand marketing and knowing how to solve problems and put deals together first. I think people have a tendency to overpay and not get a deep enough discount on a property, right? So here's the deal. Most people who don't understand real estate investing will overpay for a property because they're thinking in the back of their mind, there is no way this person is going to take 50 cents on a dollar for a house or 20 cents on a dollar for a house. And lo and behold, there's thousands, if not millions of people who will take that discount. Why? I just mentioned it to you a little while ago, right? They have a problem. And if you can solve the problem, which 9 times out of 10 is going to be the property or something going on with the property, then you'll be able to capitalize on that. Here's what I mean. If a property owner, right, there's 3 levels of distress when it comes to real estate investing. You have personal distress, you have physical distress, and then you have financial distress, right? And if you could find one of these problems uh, in a situation when you're talking with a motivated seller and you can solve that problem, you'll make a lot of money. Personal distress can be the seller is in a situation, they're sick, or they just got a job transfer, or they just want to get rid of the property. They're tired of paying 2 mortgages, right? Or 3 mortgages, or whatever the case may be. Physical distress, the house needs a lot of work. Maybe the seller doesn't have the money to fix the house up, so they're willing to sell a property at a discount. Financial distress, the seller, again, maybe multiple mortgages, maybe they're facing foreclosure or pre-foreclosure or something like that. Again, that's financial distress. Code violations, which can be physical distress and financial distress. You see how all of this accumulates to problems, right? So what you're looking for are problems. Personal distress could be divorce. A couple was getting a divorce. That's how I bought my personal residence, right? I'm the second owner of this house. They built the house and I live in it, right? And I got it at a huge discount, $100,000 off of what the value of the property was when I purchased it, because they were getting a divorce and they needed to let it go as quickly as possible. So I got a huge discount on my personal residence because of that, right? So you look for problems. And again, if you can solve the problem, you make the money and you get discounted pricing because of it. Think about it like a pawn shop, right? Somebody, what's the, and this is a question for you. What's the main reason people pawn things?
Because they're in a distress situation.
They're in a distressed situation. They need some money, right? That's the main reason. So that's why pawn shops are still in business. You're basically in the pawn shop business on a much bigger scale. You're doing it with real estate, right? So when people come to you you're there, when you go to a pawn shop, you're not looking to get top dollar for the item. The pawn shop isn't going to pay for it because they got to make a profit, right? Same exact concept here, right? So when somebody comes to you and they say, hey, I want to get rid of this house, they're expecting, well, it depends on how you position it, but they're not expecting top dollar for a house that needs some work, right? Or for, they're not expecting top dollar to get out of their situation. They just want to get out of their situation, alleviate the problem, right? And the pawn shop can solve problems by just buying this. How does this a pawn shop solve a problem? They purchase the product from you, and they give you the money that you need. You do the same thing on a wholesale scale. You purchase the problem from the person to either get them out of their financial situation, even if they don't have to pay another bill or make any money, or to give them cash, right? And you have this product now at a discount that you can now go ahead and sell or make some money on every single month based on your exit strategy and what you choose to do. So it's the same exact concept, right? You're buying at a discount, buy low, sell high. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, that's pretty much the basis of pretty much everything in investing, right?
Yeah.
You buy low, sell high. And so social media has really changed the game. I had a lot of people in the business and real estate come and tell me how real estate kind of either help or hinder the process of them doing real estate investing. Which one is it for you? Has social media kind of helped your plateau and kind of like really just achieving just the maximum of real estate investing?
Honestly, man, I think social media is a great tool, but it doesn't really it depends on how you're using it, right? So when I first started, I made a lot of money without social media. I honestly wasn't really active on social media until about maybe 3-4 years ago. That's when I started building an audience. The powerful thing about social media is exactly that. You build an audience. And once you have an audience, you can always capitalize by having that audience, as long as you're providing value to that audience, right? Another thing with social media is, especially when it comes to real estate, for example, you can build a network with buyers. So if you're wholesaling, you can build out a cash buyers list, right? Through wholesaling. When I first moved here to North Carolina 7 years ago, I didn't know anybody. First thing I did was set up a Facebook group. Now we have, a couple thousand people in our Facebook group where I can, if I came up with a deal, I can go ahead and post the deal in a group, and I'm the moderator, right? So I look like the superhero, and I have authority at that point once you become a moderator of something, right? But I look like the guy, and when you use social media in that regard to build relationships and to, again, offer deals if you're an investor, or to provide value if you're an educator, it's a powerful thing, and it can go viral. People can start recommending you, and your name can just become bigger than what you ever thought it can be, simply because of social media and word of mouth. So if you use social media not to sit on social media and there's a saying called lollygagging, right, where you're basically procrastinating, wasting time on social media. If you don't use social media to waste time, and you use it to network, to build business, to provide value to people, like what we're doing on this podcast, to me, it's a very, very powerful tool, man. It should be used by everybody.
Absolutely. And you do have an education academy. Tell us how we can look that up. Do you normally have regular classes, or these are all scheduled classes throughout the year?
Yeah, so basically these are courses, and we come out with new courses. We what I do is, we release these courses for a period of time, then they go off the market, right? So whenever something new is happening in the market, like right now, creative investing and wholesaling is really hot. I literally just got finished creating a program wrapped around those two methods. We have software and things like that as well, but whatever is hot at the time, and people can benefit from it, those are the products that are going to be available. You can go to either my name, jamelgibbs.com, or you can go to reieducationacademy.com. Both of them will lead to the same site. We offer coaching and mentoring as well, more so through mastermind and group coaching type of feel. Um, and that's where our students really benefit from that type of environment, because they get to network with other students and do deals together as well. So that's basically why we set it up that way.
Well, that's what's up, man. Thank you for joining us, Jamel, on the show today. Appreciate it for all the educational, free educational for me and for the audience, just giving us insight on your journey and how you got here and how to actually kind of make it in the business.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you having me once again. And I put out a lot of free content on YouTube as well, same as you guys. So if you guys want to check that out, you can. I'm not trying to throw a shameless plug in there, but
Go ahead.
there's so much information,
Oh, yeah.
so much that we couldn't cover in 15, 20 minutes on a podcast. But I have playlists for days, hours, over 200 videos on YouTube that you can check out. Where this is equivalent to buying home study courses. If you want that information, just check me out, Jamel Gibbs on YouTube. I'll be happy to continue providing you guys the value that you need to go from where you are right now to where you want to go in your journey in business.
Love it. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate it.